Welcome to the Social Millennial Podcast. If y'all don't know, y'all better go back and listen to the previous episodes. We're going to get right into it. I really want to talk about the UFC, namely the women's division, strawweight, and what's going down. Weili Zhang became the strawweight champion, the first of Chinese descent, which is fire, which was unexpected. Jessica Andrade got whooped out. It was very interesting to watch. It was very quick. This was UFC Fight Night 157, taking place in China, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, she whooped her out in the first round, 42 seconds. Super surprising. I didn't expect it to happen. But Weili Zhang looked to be in amazing shape. And I mean, I'm not going to kid anybody. Jessica Andrade is not a very technical fighter. All it took was someone with enough power and who was technical enough to whoop out Jessica Andrade. I kind of expected her to get whooped out at some point rather quickly, that she would not be a sort of a long-lived champion. After she beat Rose Namajunas in the way that she beat her, I was kind of salty. So I'm a little bit biased because I do believe that Rose should have won that fight by disqualification, but I'm not the UFC rule makers. I'm not a UFC ref. I have no influence, but it just really looked bad. Really, really looked bad. Jessica Andrade lifted Rose and dropped her seemingly on her head. Rose was holding on for a Kimura to just sort of cancel or attempt to cancel out Andrade's a tactic of lifting and just dropping girls. It didn't work. It worked the first few times during the fight, but it just came a point where Andrade kind of stepped to the correct way, and Rose didn't let go of the hold, of sort of the first few steps of that hold to cancel out Andrade's lift. Andrade lifted her. Rose didn't let go in midair to avoid being just dropped with all of her weight and all of Andrade's sort of power added to it, and she just got dropped pretty much on her head and knocked out. I thought that was cheap. I thought it was not cool, but a win is a win, I guess, by UFC rule books, and that's what the judges wanted to happen or thought it was okay, so that is what it is. I'm still salty. I believe Rose should have still been the champion, and she should have been the one fighting Weili Zhang. I feel like that fight would have been much more interesting, much more compelling. Even if Weili Zhang won, I would have felt like Weili earned that, because Rose is, she's got almost the total package. The punching power is not quite there the way Andrade's is, and the punching power for Rose isn't quite there as it is for Weili Zhang, but she's got technical skill, she's got the prowess, she's got the ring IQ, her ground game is on point, she submitted a few girls, so I don't know, I feel like that fight would have been fire. I'm really on the edge of my seat to see what the matchmakers are going to do with Weili Zhang and who's going to fight her next, because I feel like it should be Rose to fight her next. Andrade, I don't think Andrade needs a rematch or deserves a rematch. They were both standing. Weili Zhang got that TKO, trading blows, trading swings with Jessica Andrade, and just Weili Zhang's technical ability is better on her feet. Her head movement was crazy. They were just throwing, and Weili caught Andrade. That's it. Much like Cyborg and Nunez, they were just standing there throwing in front of each other, and it was just whoever clocked the person, clocked the opponent hard enough was gonna come out on top, and this is what happened at UFC Fight Night 157. I'm salty too, because I feel like Rose didn't get the notoriety that she should have as a champion. She's pretty young, and most fighters male or female, and pundits worth their weight in salt really regard Rose as not a prodigy, but someone who's performing at a very top level at a very young age. She still has a lot of years in her to fight, Rose Namajunas. But the way that she's fought veterans and exhibited just the poise and the skill necessary to overcome them. And these are not like veterans that are, over the hill, throw her some older people to give her some cred or to pad her record. These are prime fighters, like for real. And she really fought and really overcame. So I feel like Rose didn't get sort of the airtime that I feel that she could have. And for all I know, it could have been Rose that rejected a lot of it. I have no idea. I just wish that we could have seen more of her, because that would have been fire. I know she had adopted the Thug Rose sort of moniker and air about her when she was fighting Joanna. And that was epic. That's a fight that was fire. That Joanna Rose fight was amazing. What was that? UFC 223, if I'm not mistaken. UFC 223. Let me make sure. Let me make all the way sure. I believe it was, no, that was 217 was the first fight. And Rose knocked out Joanna in seemingly an upset, I guess. I don't remember what the odds were, what the Vegas odds were, what the over-under was. But, man, because Joanna was piling it on. She was talking all kinds of smack. It was wild. Joanna was in her face during the weigh-ins, and Rose just kept it stone cold. I remember Joe Rogan recalling the weigh-ins and Joanna just getting in Rose's face. And Rose just stone-faced. She had cut her hair. I think that was, she had just cut her hair and went bald. And Joe Rogan standing there with them, and he could hear Rose just saying the Lord's Prayer while Joanna was flipping out and talking all kinds of smack and in her face during the weigh-in. It was wild. And Rose came in and knocked out Joanna, and then they had a rematch. And that proved that it was not a fluke. That was UFC 223, and Rose whooped out Joanna. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I just wish that she had more airtime. I fully expect Rose to fight Wei Li, and I'm on the edge of my seat for that. I really hope that Rose does not retire and announce retirement, because after she lost to Andrade, she, people talk. She was talking a little bit about whether or not she would retire. I hope that she doesn't, but it would make sense to me. I mean, she fought, got to the top, was the champion, and maybe her priorities are something else. People are people. People are complicated and dynamic beings that, want a lot more out of their life than just standing in front of someone and punching them until the referee tells them to stop. But I'm super hyped for what's going to go down with Weili Zhang. I mean, super hyped for the UFC too, because with Weili Zhang being a champion, this could be an opening for the UFC business-wise to break into China. And from what I hear, Chinese women's MMA is fire out there. That they've got some serious camps, they've got some serious fighters out there. The men's side, from what I hear, is not so dynamic, is not so stacked. So, I mean, that's a thing, but it would be pretty cool to see more Chinese fighters, and mixed martial arts maybe ending up in Chinese Sports Academy, I think that's the name of it. It would be interesting to see something new in the landscape, something to sort of give the UFC a little shot in the arm after the big ESPN deal, which that's a whole other podcast. My thought process about that deal and my hot take on that. But super excited, super on the edge of my seat. I can't wait. And then more recently, Khabib Nurmagomedov is killing it in these streets. He is smashing dudes. Smash. Hulk smash. The Eagle just smashes these guys. Like, it's on another level. This guy is on an undefeated warpath, 28-0. This dude whooped out Dustin Poirier, UFC 242, whooped out Dustin Poirier, killed the interim title. He is in fact the undisputed lightweight champion once again after his suspension, after the crazy chain of events that was that Conor McGregor fight. He came in true to form, whooped out Dustin, and just smashes dudes. Smashed them. Whoa. Like, you can't argue. He was joking in the post-fight. I just smashed dudes. I just smashed them. That is just what he does. And we can laugh and so on, but he's a scary fighter, I tell you. A scary fighter indeed for anybody. Now, Dustin, after losing to Khabib in the third round, he was already talking about maybe retiring, wondering if he should retire, that this fight opened his eyes. And maybe, it's time. I don't think he will, because since that point, he's called out Conor McGregor. Excuse me. But, man, that fight, please go watch it. If y'all could find it in an archive or something, go and watch that fight. That fight was like edge of your seat fight. Khabib came in and did his thing, as he usually does, his sort of style of wrestling and just using his body to wear out his opponent. But Dustin Poirier had a game plan. Like, there were so many times that Khabib could have lost. And I think for the first time, maybe we've seen Khabib in sort of a more human light, where, he almost got caught in a guillotine in this fight. But because of his training, I mean, this dude, he just stayed calm, like calm as a cucumber, with a guillotine locked in, and calmly set up his hips to get out of it. It was crazy. It was wild. Then the way that he just turned around and essentially neck cranked, choked out Poirier was like the next few seconds he just turned around and, okay, I'm done. I'm finished playing with you, Dustin. I am now going to win this fight. So it leads me to believe that he was just letting the fight go on for a certain amount of time, because he was definitely, Khabib that is, was definitely in advantageous positions on the ground where he could have just pursued the just choking him out rear naked, but he sort of pursued it and then let it go. But then once again, I'm an armchair quarterback. I was not in the ring with him with all of the pressure and all of the things going on, and feeling doesn't pour his energy. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But yeah, man. Exciting stuff. Edge of your seat fight. So please, I recommend. That's not the official rec for this week, but I do recommend going to watch that fight, because it was fire. And you could see the bravado. You could see the bravado backed up. Khabib's bravado, which isn't even really super inflated. It doesn't seem like his ego is super inflated. He still seems like a very humble dude, but he's just stating facts. Like, he's at the pressers like, I'm gonna smash this guy. Y'all talk about Tony Ferguson, and what if he fights GSP? Get that fight going. And Khabib was like, I will smash them. It's fun to talk about. These are all jokes. I smash them. Like, he'll destroy them. And it's great that he's got that vibrato and that sense of confidence. And it doesn't feel like it's unearned. You know, Conor earned his gravitas, but he used to go above and beyond, especially when he went to fight Khabib. I mean, he went wild. He went off the deep end. Talk about I will what is it? Smack. When he gets a smack, I'm gonna smack this. It was hilarious. It was entertaining, and that's just what he does. But He went above and beyond. And what happened with that happened with that. I'm on the edge of my seat. For real. Tony Ferguson, it's time that he gets a shot. If Tony Ferguson can learn from Dustin Poirier's positioning on his feet, because there were points where Poirier could have just kept throwing and could have kept Khabib at bay and could have knocked him out. Could have won by decision, could have lasted. So Tony Ferguson could learn from Poirier's positions on his feet and his positions on the ground. I think Tony Ferguson is poised to defeat Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think he is. I'd love to see Khabib keep winning and maybe retire as an undefeated champion. That would be fire just for him. I like that story. It feels nice. But I think Tony Ferguson of the lightweights can defeat is the guy to do it. Is the all arounder. Is just the high level elite fighter to beat Khabib. Even though Khabib has essentially dominated every one of his 28 opponents in his 28 fights, he's completely dominated. I assume Tony Ferguson is the guy. He's just got it. So I'm super down. I'm super locked and loaded. I'm a big fan of the UFC, big fan of mixed martial arts, and I really hope everything gets pushed forward. I feel like a Tony Ferguson Khabib Nurmagomedov fight will kind of push the art form forward. MMA just as a thing, MMA in its execution, it's going to take it and move it forward. Where you've got your Michael Jordans and your Kobes and your Allen Iversons and your Shaqs and your Larry Birds and your Kareem Abdul-Jabbars pushing the game forward. I feel like a fight like that pushes the game forward. I feel like a fight with Khabib and GSP would push the game forward too, but I don't think that would happen. I don't think GSP is going to come back and fight Khabib. They did talk about it. That door seems to be very, very, very much so closed. So yeah, and also shout out to Chris Cyborg. Like Chris Cyborg, you're close to my heart. I'm glad that you signed with Bellator. I'm glad that you're doing your thing, that Bellator is going to treat you nice, and talk to you nice and treat you like a real fighter and treat you with the respect that you deserve. Yes, everybody has a past. Yes, everybody is not perfect, but Cyborg's doing her thing, man. And she served her time for what she's had to go through with all that happened, and she's here. So it was just sad. You hate to see it. You hate to see it, really. The way Dana White was treating her in the media, it got a little out of hand. I understand joking around. I understand offhanded comments, off-color comments, but it started becoming very pointed during her negotiation period for her contract, and that was not cool. It seemed like he was really trying to hurt her brand on purpose. So Cyborg, shout out to you. Social Millennial Podcast is a friend of Chris Cyborg. Now let's move along to some hip hop news. I guess hip hop heads. If y'all don't know, I am from the Bronx. Social Millennial Podcast is NYC. Gang gang. 27 rings. If y'all don't know now y'all know. But not crazy controversy, but just sort of an interesting conversation that was going down this week, having to do with my guy Lloyd Banks and just this idea of the older hip hop veterans and if there's still a space for them. It's interesting. I feel like it was made a little. Joe Budden kind of got a little dramatic about it on his podcast. Joe Budden's Fire. If y'all want to listen to a fire hip hop podcast, that's interesting and entertaining and full of hot takes and all over the place in a good way, in a very good way. Go head on over to the Joe Budden podcast. It's fire. But yeah, it stems from some Twitter stuff going on with Lloyd Banks and a fan and sort of fans asking, Lloyd, are you gonna create another studio album? Are you gonna come out with something new? Are you gonna add to your body of work? And he sort of, maybe jokingly, maybe not. I don't think he was joking, but him talking about how nobody's really checking for Lloyd Banks. Now, since his last studio album, which I think was 2010, 2012, something like that, he's just been putting out mixtapes. So it's not that he's been out of these streets, like he's been quiet or dormant. But I understand what he's saying, and I understand why he would say something like that. And Lloyd Banks is generally a guy that seems like he does not joke OD on Twitter. He's not one of those guys. So a lot of people took him seriously, and so a lot of love came his way. That Lloyd, come through, pull up. We need you in these streets and so on and so forth. And it's great. I love the outpouring. It was fire. But I feel like Lloyd has a point. There is space for any and every kind of artist to do their thing right now in the landscape of music. I don't know about in the landscape of the music industry. That's an entirely different notion. But I mean, music in general, you can put stuff out. There is more freedom now to make an impact than there has been in previous years. In Lloyd Banks's years, he's around for the change, and Joe Budden's around for the sort of change and rebranding and refacing and change of sort of the music industry as a system. And it just made sense to me. Joe Budden kind of got a little dramatic, talking about how Lloyd shouldn't be saying stuff like that as an artist, and it was sad, and it was so on. But I don't think it's very sad whether Lloyd was joking or not. Whether he was being facetious or whether it was just an offhand thing or just to see what people would say, kind of attention grabbing thing or not. There's some merit to it. I mean, right now, the landscape of hip hop, at least popular hip hop, like hip hop, as I'd like to say, hip hop, gang, gang, don't quote me, don't at me, hip hop, where it's just, it's an assembly line, whether it's an industry plant, a bunch of industry plants or not, it's become an assembly line. The most popular people, and by popular people, I don't mean popular artists that have staying power. Like think of Kendrick Lamar, Drake, guys like that. I mean like your little Pumps, your little Uzis, all your littles, Comethazine and so on. These guys coming out now, where there's sort of a flash in the pan for a while, and then you don't hear from them anymore. It's a lot of guys like that. Some stay around. Little Pump is still around. But a lot of them are like that. A lot of them are flash in the pan. Here's a hit. Oh, this is fire. Was a club banger. Where are they now? We don't know. Where's the album? Now, it might come with the territory with this whole kind of singles focused thing going on and not album focused thing. But this sort of assembly line hip hop is not Lloyd Banks' thing. And so I get it. I get why he would say that. Nobody is checking for real bars. Nobody's checking for real songs. Nobody's checking for real hip hop. They're checking for hip hop. That's just really what it is. If you want to be hyper popular, you've got to hit a lot of different demographics. And it makes sense. Excuse me. It makes sense. You've got to hit a lot of different demographics. And when Lloyd says nobody's checking for Lloyd Banks, it makes sense. Because then a lot or most of the demographic that's going to pour out love are that, 28 to 35, 40-year-olds. And they could go out and buy your single, but you really want the rabid fan base, which are the younger crowd. And the younger crowd is not necessarily checking for Lloyd Banks. Now, that is a generalization. I don't really know every single young person. I really don't. And there are younger people who are into G Unit, who rep Lloyd heavy, who rep 50 heavy, and have that solidarity. I've met and been surprised, but they're few and far between. So I get it, Lloyd. I get it. You've been out here, you've been doing your thing, you've been getting your bag, however you've been getting it. I hope that you come back. I hope that you make it do what it do. I hope that that happens because Fat Joe's out here. He had no problem getting on that track with Cardi B, it seems, and making something fire for the culture. So I don't see why Lloyd Banks can't come out and do the same thing. Of course, I don't know the behind the scenes. I don't know what the red tape is for that with him. But we're here for it. Lloyd Banks, show up, pull up. I kid you not, it will be fire. Remy pulled up, Joe pulled up, Busta pulled up, pull up, bro. Like, we need it. We need you, we need Joe, we need Remy in the landscape. Like 100%. Even if you're not putting out a studio album every year or every 2 years, even if you're not necessarily doing a world tour, we need that. We need the veterans out here. You know, especially Lloyd Banks. Lloyd Banks was, bro, you were fire. I'm talking directly to you. You were fire and you are fire. You still have bars all day, every day. No arguing. Come through, man. Pull up. We miss you, bro. In the mainstream, I should say. Like, miss you, miss you. I know you've been out here, you've been doing your mixtape thing, and you're still fire. That's what I'm saying. You still got heat, bro. Make it happen. Make that happen. For real, for real. For real, for real. So that's my little call to action, Lloyd Banks, because we need that. We really, really do. So we've reached our segment here. Recommendations for the week. Things that I've media and you know, books, movies, anything that I've ingested that I'm going to recommend to you guys. What I've been absorbing. And I've got some good recs. This time we've got two. Usually I've got one, but I've got two. I have got two. I would like to recommend to you guys, even if you're not a hip hop fan, even if it's not your thing, even if you're country music and you're pop, if you're a Swifter or Swifty or whatever the kids call it these days, if you're a believer, I highly recommend watching the history of hip hop. What is it called? It's called Hip Hop Evolution. Highly, highly recommend it. Any of my music historians, anybody who likes history, anyone who likes sort of tracking the development of something and how we got to this point in hip hop, really watch this. I over the past week I've started getting into it. It's fire to see how this art form evolved into what it is now. You know, the various triumphs and the various pitfalls within this genre, the fight that the genre had for acceptance. I mean, it's an amazing show, really tracking that, and it's part of music history. So please see it. I was super into it. Was binging that during like crazy. Had to stop. You know, I had other businesses to take care of. You know, we gotta make moves. We gotta get in that bag. But it's fire. Watch it. Even if you're not a hip hop fan, watch it. It's compelling stuff. All these artists, they talk about the freestyle scene. It's fire. Like, for real. My second recommendation for this week is my favorite chef of all time, next to my mama and my grandma, Gordon Ramsay. My guy. This guy's got to be the hardest working chef, like, in a long time. Like, the hustler, the hardest working chef in the business. How many shows, how many pilots this guy puts forward is insane. And I'm here for every single one of them. I jumped on board with Hell's Kitchen. Yeah, with Hell's Kitchen, like from season 1. I saw season 1. I saw season 2. Not a big MasterChef guy, but Hell's Kitchen Nightmares is my joint, like all the way Kitchen Nightmares. I like both the American and the European version, the English version, the British TV version, for their own reasons. And so I recommend. Wow, this is a huge chunk of recommendations. But check out Hell's Kitchen. Start from season 1. It was fire. See how that evolved. I highly recommend it. It was fire. It's reality TV, but if it just feels more genuine than all of the others. And I'm sure, sure there were scripted moments that were there, and people were just really good actors. But because it's reality TV, I mean, what are you gonna do? But it was fire. It was entertaining, super entertaining. The idea of the winners getting a job at his hotel, and I mean at his restaurant, becoming an executive chef at his restaurant in Vegas, it's fire, super fire. If you haven't checked out Kitchen Nightmares, check out Kitchen Nightmares. I like both the English, the European version, the British TV version, and the Americanized version for their own specific reasons. If you like sort of that emotional, dramatic, sort of funny, punctuated beats in reality TV kind of style, if you like that, the American version is for you. If you like straight to the point, no frills, no over the top emotionality, but still entertaining, still deep and immersive experience in what it is to run a restaurant and fix problems in a restaurant and the food and the business side, watch the British version, because he kind of gets straight to the point. British version, I believe, is the original, where he's younger, not super young, but just younger, starting out with the show and the format of the show. And it's super like raw, like really raw. No super extra music, no super extra family drama, just really raw, get down to it. Problem with your restaurant, I'm pulling up, so be ready, and we're going to fix this. I like both. I love both. They're both fire. So check that out too. But really, what my recommend? Oh, and what else? What else? I was on board for Hotel Hell. That was fire. I thought, when I first saw the trailers for it, I was like, how is this premise going to work, Gordon? Like, Mr. Ramsay. Well, how are you're branching out because you're a chef, but how are you going to, what's this about? You're going to fix their whole hotel? And when I saw that joint, it was fire and entertaining, especially because it's American reality TV. So they always added some of that drama, which, drama's cool sometimes. I'm not a super huge, let me let the record reflect, as one of my trusted mentors says, I am not a reality TV guy. I really don't like reality TV, like 100% don't. I remember sort of testing out reality TV back in the day with Kitchen Nightmares and with Flavor of Love. Oh yeah, season 1, New York, Flavor of Love. And then with what was it? I Love New York, Who Loves New York? Remember that? She got her own joint. Amy Pollard, I think her name is. Got her own joint. I was there for that too. That was hella entertaining, like thoroughly. But after that point, really the only reality television that I deal with, that I mess with, is Gordon Ramsay's stuff. Whatever you're in, Mr. Ramsay, I pull up for it. And so I was there for Hotel Hell. I believe it was short-lived, but I was there for that show. And I was there for 24 Hours in Hell, I think it's called, if I'm not mistaken, where he just takes sort of the Kitchen Nightmares premise and condenses it into 24 hours, a 24-hour period. We're going to transform your joint in 24 hours. That was a fire idea too. I don't know if it's short-lived. I don't know if we're going to get another season of that, but Mr. Ramsay, I was here for it. So whoever's coming up with these pilot ideas, whether it's you or a squad, a team, or whatever, y'all are doing the Lord's work, because these are fire shows. And I like cooking. I'm one of the, I'm a ground level ground level chef myself, you know, I try to be something out here. Casual chef, I know my way around the kitchen. So I really, really love these shows. My real recommendation, I don't know, I kind of went off on a tangent just going through it. What I really meant to recommend from Mr. Ramsey's repertoire, playbook offerings, is his newest show, Uncharted. It is the best. I mean, Gordon Ramsay comes in and, he elevates dishes. It's elevated. This is an elevated show. It's fire. They went all out. He goes out to remote locations, to learn about different cuisines and but like legit all the way in. It's not like, oh, let me learn about this cuisine by going to this restaurant in England or in New Delhi or something, or in Sydney. This dude goes to like the mountain towns. He's got a Morocco episode that was fire. Like each episode is fire and very informative. I believe it's a National Geographic show. So it goes hard, man. He's out in the Andes. He's rappelling down mountains. He's doing all kinds of things. He's getting down and dirty, and it is fire. You really learn a whole lot, which I'm so happy about. You learn a lot about other people's cultures. You learn a lot about their food and the reasons why they eat what they eat, in the region, like why that had to develop. You get to see sort of the cultural infusion, what that their food, they eat it, but their food is also a very integral part in their culture, in their religious beliefs and their faith beliefs and so on. And it's super captivating, super entertaining, super interesting. I really, really like it. And then he has to challenge. Part of the premise of the show is there's a challenge that he's got to rise up to with a chef in sort of that cultural area of cooking, that he's got to compete against them to impress the locals. And that's pretty cool. Really takes away from Master Chef and judging and Kitchen Nightmares and all of that, because he's now got to rise up to satisfy the palate of people from another country. And, palates are different and flavors are different. And he's got to sort of take his concepts and everything that he's learned during the course of his career and try to pick up all of these new skills and sort of approach his skills and his methodology from a different angle. And it's really cool to watch. It's really, really interesting. I really, really like it. And they still, pepper in the family stuff, the little bit of drama, the little bits of humor. And I really, really like it. I feel like it's the perfect storm. Like it's the perfect gumbo of reality and informational and educational edutainment. It's the perfect gumbo. Mr. Ramsey, kudos to you. Social Millennial Podcast is a friend. It's fire. Like fire. Top notch stuff. Like for real. I feel like maybe I'm going to save my other recommendation for next week. I've recommended 4 shows to y'all in one, and I didn't even think I was going to do that. So definitely check it out. Gordon Ramsay, you're the man, Mr. Ramsay. I hope one day that we get to meet you. I hope one day we get to work together on something. It doesn't matter. I'm down. So check it out. Kitchen Nightmares, Hell's Kitchen, 24 Hours in Hell, Hotel Hell. All of it is interesting and entertaining. Like all the way. So check it out. Thanks for spending time with the Social Millennial Podcast. We out.